How you doing? I feel like the Black Ellen. We just need a little hip hop. Hey, ho! It is wonderful to be here. I'm very excited. My kids are even more excited because they're tired of hearing the speech. I'm excited to talk to you today about the return on investment in diversity and inclusion. Did you know that of all the venture capital money that is deployed, only 8% goes to women and 1% goes to African American women? We're going to fix that. Did you know that of only 7% of all of the top 100 VC firms have women as partners? Here's one that frustrates me on a regular basis. Did you know that 1 in 3 LGBT entrepreneurs who are seeking funding or securing funding are not out to their investors? These are just a few of the challenges that are causing breaks in equity and equality in our current entrepreneurial ecosystems. Now, I'm a Hoya. I went to Georgetown. Any Hoyas in the house? That's what I'm talking about. We're a Jesuit institution. We believe in cura personalis, and we take care of everyone. But I don't share these statistics because of some moral imperative, although, as we've heard, from an ecosystem perspective, we are all bound together. We share things. We care about solving problems. I share these statistics because of an economic imperative. The minority population is the new majority. If you didn't know, 43% of millennials are non-white. By 2055, the United States will not have a single racial or ethnic majority. In fact, 56% of the population will be the new majority. 40% of the labor force will be women. And I'm happy to say, as I approach 50, the population will tilt a little older. Now, the challenge is that these are not the people that typically make up our entrepreneurial ecosystems. So we've got to figure out how to invest in them. Because if we do not invest in those right now that have been historically marginalized, underinvested, and undereducated, then we will continue to erode the competitive advantage that exists in our country. Now, as a finance major, my professors always said to me, diversification is the key to any successful portfolio. So in the vein of asking questions, who the hell is in your portfolio? Now, you may say, well, here we go again. I see some of the sighs, the glazing of eyes. I don't really need to hear this stuff about diversity. But let me be really clear. I am a capitalist. Anybody who knows me, I got 6 kids. I'm a capitalist. But I'm a new capitalist. I believe that I have every opportunity and right to be wealthy and economically prosperous. But I also recognize that comes at a cost, that I need to do that for my communities and my country. Now, I do that because we heard from all the fire starters this morning, we are all connected like ants. Our future is bound by collaboration, understanding, and empathy. It is also, though, undergirded by the honesty of some of the things that are indeed current plaguing our system. So let me just explain to you some of the economic realities when we do not invest in diversity and inclusion. There is a cost. There is a cost to us when we do not invest in diversity. Now, some of you may be familiar with this next topic, and some of you may not, but it's called poverty. It is an epidemic that is rampaging through rural and urban America. It costs all of us every single day. In fact, childhood poverty alone costs us $500 billion per year, or 4% of our gross domestic product. It costs us in reduced economic output. It costs us in reduced economic productivity. It costs us in increased crime, increased health expenses, and believe it or not, it undermines all of our healthy outcomes by 4 to 5% every single year of our gross domestic product. Did you know that we all pay an extensive tax and toll when we have 10% unemployment in our country? It costs us money. A 20-year study shows that Black firms hire more people of color than traditional firms. And thank goodness. With 3.5 million jobs being created by African American entrepreneurs, we are responsible for employing 1/5 of the entire workforce. Unfortunately, we know darn well we do not invest equally in African American entrepreneurs. And that lack of investment has led to a loss of 600,000 jobs, which could reduce unemployment by 5%. In a recent event we had in DC, we realized that in the District of Columbia, if the hiring patterns sustained themselves and every black business hired somebody, and more importantly, hired somebody because they had the resources, we could actually eradicate unemployment in the nation's capital. Now, I share this with you because it's important that we could actually be saving money if we actually expanded our investment thesis. But we also could be making a lot more money because there are indeed opportunity costs when we do not invest in areas of diversity. So for example, if we think about women entrepreneurs, how many women entrepreneurs in the room? Oh, that was so lame. It must have been the brownie. Let's try it again. How many women entrepreneurs in the room? Women CEOs in Fortune 1000 companies, surprise, surprise, drive 3 times more value than those guys running that S&P 500. We know that companies with women on the board of directors perform better, 66% on return invested capital, 3% return on equity, and 42% return on sales. We know that venture-backed, women-owned companies perform 63% better than all male founding teams. And we certainly know that if a venture capitalist invests in a woman, they're going to make money and save money. They're going to generate 12% higher revenue than men. Oh, look, we're going to use less committed capital. And we actually have a 15 to 25% lower failure rate. Who knew? We also know that the Center for Women's Business Research says there are 8 million women-owned businesses right now. They have an economic impact of $3 trillion. That equates to 23 million jobs, or 16% of all jobs in the United States. If the women entrepreneurs here got together with the other women entrepreneurs all over in the United States, we would have the 5th largest GDP in the world, ahead of France, the United Kingdom, and Italy. Now let's talk about African American entrepreneurs. There are over 2.5 black-owned businesses, 9% of all firms, generating $150 billion, supporting just under 1 million jobs. We know that black businesses are not only the fastest growing, but the most resilient. In those 4 tough years that we call the Great Recession, we soared at 38% growth rate. We know that black women business owners, surprise, surprise, outpace all other startups 6 times the national average. Most importantly, African Americans in general contribute 10% year-over-year growth to the GDP. The challenge is we haven't done a good job investing in them. Past and present discrimination has caused the loss of 1.1 million businesses that could have been created, which would have created 9 million jobs, which could have added $300 billion to the bottom line. Let us not forget about immigrant entrepreneurs who are clearly under fire right now. We know that they have been the leaders of technological innovation, contributing $1.6 trillion to the US GDP. More importantly, they have been significant tax drivers despite what we read in the newspaper. $775 billion in sales, $126 billion in payroll taxes. They're paying more than Apple and the rest of them combined. There is no offshoring here. And the reality is that immigrant-owned businesses employ an average of 8 people, which creates a cumulative total of 4 million jobs. Now, you ain't got to be a math major to know that's a lot of money. That's a lot of economic opportunity that we are not realizing. Now, you may say, well, that's great. I made some notes. I see some people writing. But this really doesn't apply to me because I'm not a racist. Well, guess what? We all are. While there are no more whites-only signs limiting people who look like me in terms of access and entry, we are constantly plagued with isms and stereotypes and beliefs that are oftentimes not based in fact, that actually limit my potential and my progress every damn day. Let me give you an example. We have this thing at a macro level called pattern recognition, where we believe that if we hang out and invest in things that we like, we'll be comfortable, and that comfort will make us more successful. Then on a more subtle level, we have microaggressions, that people who look like me every day experience, the language, the eye rolling, the looks, the good luck to you. And it slows us down every single time. When I graduated from Georgetown University, I was a finance major, top of my class, put together this business plan, worked in corporate America for a year, and I said, let me go to the SBA because they are here to help me. And I walked in, the woman said, well, I had a chance to read your stuff. I said, great, because I am ready. She goes, but I'm not going to fund you. I was like, okay, let's talk about that. She said, well, you have 3 strikes against you. I said, just 3? I'm feeling good. I'm a gambler. I got 3. She goes, you're black. I go, oh, I can't change that one. She says, you're a woman. I could change that, but I don't really want to. And there are no successful black women in financial services. By the grace of God, my mama popped right here and said, get up out of there before you hurt somebody. And luckily, my business went on to be successful. However, the microaggressions continued. I had the privilege to create a company that went on to work with Fortune 100 CEOs, and I'd walk in their office, and the same 2 things would happen every time. The smile would go to a frown, and I would say, what's the matter? I ain't even start yet. Well, you're not exactly what I expected. What'd you expect? Well, you know, your name is Melissa Lynn Bradley. You went to Georgetown. I was like, oh, it was Shaquana or Shaniqua. You would have known I was going to be black. You could have prepared. I probably got another about 10 to 15 minutes after that. And then it was over, though, when they would say, you remind me of my daughter. Now, I'm an optimist. I say, let me find the compliment here. But I look around their room, and their sons in suits and shaking hands and the tuxedos, and all the women had kids and tea parties and dresses. And I said, so what is it you expect of your daughter? And they would say, I expect one thing. I was like, whew, I went from 3 to 1. I expect she get an MRS degree. And the meeting would end. I truly do believe that we all want economic prosperity. I truly believe that we want the best for ourselves and our communities, but we don't know how to do it. We oftentimes fail to realize that everyone has the opportunity to contribute, provided they've actually been given the chance to participate. So I want to thank Kaufman for the chance to rattle it up a little bit post-lunch, pre-tequila, hopefully, because conversations are important. But I want to be really clear, we cannot change what we don't confront. So in the spirit of being not politically correct, let me just share a little secret with you. It is important for you to know that if you acknowledge racism, I'm not going to hold you responsible. But if you deny it or do not act upon it, I will hold you as an accomplice to perpetuating America's greatest sin. Being here is important for me, but it's important for my entrepreneurs, because you say these are myths, these are beliefs, these are opinions. No, these are truths. These are real barriers that I have with a graduate degree, an undergraduate degree, a privileged life. I face these aggressions every day, and so do those that are less privileged. If we are unwilling and unable to address the system inequalities, they will further contribute and result in accrued depreciation in our country. It is important for us to know that even if you're doing it well, like you check the box, you got some people of color, you check the box, you know some gay people, check it more. Tell me how many. Go get some new friends. I thought about asking people to raise your hand if you were gay, but I didn't want to out anybody. But this is the chance to do so. All right, my man. All right. But I want to come back to the economic imperative because I'm a finance major. And so as you go home, I challenge you to do a little bit more. Work a little bit harder. I'm starting to sound like a parent now, I know. But as you head home, I want to leave you with one quote from a gentleman named Robert Arnott. He was an American entrepreneur, investor. I love him because he writes about quantitative investing. He says, in investing, what is comfortable is rarely profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get fucking uncomfortable.